serial killers. They're fiction's most hateful characters. Narcissistic, cruel, twisted, and downright evil. Yet we can't seem to get enough of them, from Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs to Patrick Bateman in American Psycho. We revile them, yet we revel in them too. Why? I'm David Wilson, Emeritus Professor of Criminology. To mark the release of Prodigal Son on Sky One, I'm going to attempt to answer one question. Why is it we love serial killer dramas so much?
I want you to remember something.
Dad, what's in here?
It's okay. It's all gonna be okay.
I think the public has always been interested in fictional murderers and how they're brought to justice. You can trace that interest all the way back to, say, Edgar Allan Poe in 1841 and the murders in the Rue Morgue. But I think something changes in the 1980s. And what changes is, in effect, the fact of the publication of Thomas Harris's Red Dragon in 1981. Quite clearly, Thomas Harris was given access to the Behavioral Sciences Unit, the BSU, at the FBI in Quantico. He really wanted to understand how the FBI went about a murder investigation. The second thing that Red Dragon does, for the very first time in literature, we get this term, serial killer. Suddenly there's this idea that there's a new type of murderer on the loose. But what we are seeing, and certainly what we see in Prodigal Son, is we see that the genre is subtly played with, toyed with, that we are introducing new Freudian elements within the genre, that we've got this triangle of fathers trying to fight for the attention of Malcolm Bright.
Hello?
Malcolm, my boy, it's Dad.
What?
How the hell do you have a phone?
I was able to pull a few strings to help the NYPD and their newest profiler. Every killer leaves their own unique signature. Now, I want to hear all the details. I want to really be able to see it in my head.
I think we can use biology and psychology to explain why we so love serial killer dramas. I particularly like to use the phrase coactivation to explain our love of serial killer thrillers. And by coactivation, I simply mean we have two dissonant emotions activated at the same time. We've got fear, because obviously we're scared, we're being scared by the serial killer thriller, but at the same time, we're enjoying the fact that we're being scared. So it's like riding a roller coaster. You scream, but at the end of the roller coaster ride, you want to ride it again. We flood the brain with dopamine. Dopamine is a hormone that's going to give us a natural high. We rather like the fact that we've got dopamine in our brain, and that's part of the biology as to why we would react so well to this idea of being scared, but at the same time enjoying the thrill of being scared.
Special agent, he's got hostages.
Great. Let's go get him. Mrs. Bright, I found the hostages. They're alive.
Whoa, hey, Claude. How'd you find me?
Short version? Your victims. Their skin was smooth, untouched, identical. And it hit me. You chose them the way a butcher would.
A really successful serial killer thriller has got to have enough authenticity so that the viewer believes it's credible, that it could be true. And if we think about Prodigal Son, it really does talk about the NYPD. It really does talk about policing techniques. It really does talk about investigatory techniques. It has to be credible, but at the same time, just because it's credible and therefore tricks the brain into engaging with it, the viewer will still have this awareness that at the end of the day, they're watching behind a protective veil. They're suspending their disbelief in return for vicarious pleasures.
Tell me about the girl in the box.
There wasn't any girl. There couldn't be.
There was. I remember her.
Your dreams.
They're not dreams. They're memories.
Be careful, Malcolm. You didn't call the cops after you found the girl? Then how long did it take you to make that call? Days? Weeks? Months? How many other people died?
One of the other issues that we haven't talked about is the desire of the viewer to problem solve. People like to follow clues, like to work out for themselves who might be the killer. That taps into something much deeper. As a species, we have survived because we are problem solvers. We had to work out the rhythm of the seasons. We had to work out how to make fire. Deep in our DNA is a need to problem solve. And ultimately, if you think about the serial killer thriller, why people would want to repeatedly kill is a problem for us. Why do they behave like that? And if we can work that out, they're behaving like this because of these factors, then we reduce the amount of serial killers in the future.
You're after a family annihilator.
What?
Your suspect.
My profile is constantly evolving.
Got it. Your method is a mix of psychology and on-the-fly improvisation. I love it. Oh, I've always been fascinated by familicide. To love one's family that much. Perverted, yes. Narcissistic, sure. But it's most certainly love.
I'm leaving.
Well, let me know what happens. Remember, my door is always open.
So if we think about the serial killer in Prodigal Son, Dr. Martin Whitley, who was known as the surgeon, he's an aspirational figure. He's a doctor who doesn't want their son or daughter to become doctors. And serial killers, therefore, more generally have become successful aspirational figures who might say or do things that you and I would never dream of saying or doing.
Good night, Mommy.
I saw her.
No, Malcolm. No, the girl was only a dream. It was all just a dream.
If you enjoy serial killer dramas, tune in to Prodigal Son, Tuesdays, 9 p.m. on Sky One.